working. Give me some sound over here.
Yeah.
The Out of Bounds Show is powered by the award-winning golf courses at Dancing Rabbit Golf Club in Philadelphia, Mississippi.
Our guests join us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. And this interview is brought to you by Bulldog Burger in Ridgeland, Starkville, and Tupelo. We welcome in the head baseball coach at Mississippi State, Chris Lemonis, coming off back-to-back series wins. Coach, good morning. How are you?
I'm great, man. How are you both?
Doing great, Coach. I know you're busy today, and we appreciate the time. I know what you said after the game. I thought you nailed it to your team in the dugout that y'all controlled the strike zone and how big a deal that was for your club over the weekend. But I'd like to start with what Dakota Jordan did for you over the weekend. He was at the plate on Friday night. He strikes out. He's in the post game. He embraces the moment. And then on Saturday, in front of the largest crowd in NCAA history, he walks off the rival. Talk about this young man and his composure.
He's pretty special. We knew he was, he had an unbelievable fall, unbelievable spring training. And I debated, and we put him in a 3-hole early, and it kind of got a little overwhelmed, for a young guy. And since he's been back, it is just a real maturity about him. And then the talent level is super high, So we're dealing with a kid who, you're just seeing, he can hit them, 400-something feet, and then he's running 9 down the line, So he just does a lot of different things for you. And, the fun thing this weekend is just the environment didn't overwhelm him. And that's hard to do. Even though it's your own fans, it's a little overwhelming at times, and he just looked as comfortable as could be out there.
Also, he's made a couple of plays in the field the last couple of weeks for you that were freaky too.
Yeah, it's a 5-tool player. He's got a chance to play this game for a long time.
It was freshman after freshman. You had others obviously do amazing things for your club to pick up a series win. Jarangelo from the left side in the breaking ball. Did you see that coming? How confident were you in the crew going into the game yesterday, Coach?
He had been a little up and down, and we gave him a little more time, a little more rest this week. He had good bullpens. He had a really bad bullpen before that game, and Fox came down and said, "Oh man, I don't know about the left side," and it just shows you the composure of the kid, because that to me was his best start of his career. And you needed to have that breaking ball against that lineup, because they have some of those special left-handed hitters, and he flipped that thing in all day, and then really started to feel his fastball from the left side too. So he's kind of lost a little confidence over the last couple of weeks with it, and he spent a little extra time working on it. So it was nice to see him come out, and he commanded the zone.
Yeah.
Just with both arms. It was really good.
Talk about having yesterday against a really good baseball team with a lot on the line, and y'all have had your back up against the wall. You had not just true freshman behind the plate, a true freshman on the mound, and a true freshman at shortstop that all stepped up in different ways to help your club.
Yeah, we knew we were young coming into the year. We knew we had some special. Our recruiting class was ranked really high. We knew that piece, and it takes a while to get them going. They're not young anymore, I don't feel like, especially after that weekend. David Mershon made maybe the biggest play of the game. Ross Highfield's catching. Every game he's just better. He's just better, and he's figuring it out. I complimented him yesterday because he didn't have a great weekend offensively, and he's a really good hitter. But he kept catching. Early in the year, I don't know if we'd have got that from him, the maturity level. He's starting to realize how the pitchers are a reflection of him too, and he's doing a great job. And ours are sophomores too. Hunter Hines seems old, but he's a sophomore. Slade Alford. I got Bryce Chance on my bench right now. I got to find a way to get him involved. So our young group is exciting, and they're starting to play like older players right now.
Hey, Highfield, y'all have expedited his, just the last 3 weeks, his improvement, and there were several balls that he blocked up throughout the weekend that maybe go the other way 20, 25 days ago, Chris.
Yeah, he had that stretch where he had a handful but he was just missing some balls, and he had some mechanical things that we changed, or I say I didn't do anything. Kyle Cheeseborough, our catching coach, and Ross did, and it's made a huge difference in him catching-wise. And just those handful of balls he was missing earlier in the year, he's not missing them right now. And I think that, just where his glove placement is, his setup is, it's made a huge difference. And that's a luxury for us that we have a real catching coach here. I think that's helped Ross a lot.
Chris Lemonis on the Farm Bureau Insurance Guest Line. You're getting some pitchers back, like Cade Smith and Aaron Nixon. Both pitched well over the weekend. Did you see this coming with Aaron Nixon and what he did for your club on Saturday and Sunday?
Well, we thought that's what we were getting earlier in the year. This is one of the top closers in the country. He turned down every school to come here, and then he tweaks it, opening week, throwing a bullpen, right? And you're sitting there like, losing that piece of your bullpen, because Dome was supposed to be the setup guy for him, which would make a really good bullpen. And it takes, once you get back, then there's, even with Cade, then you got to get yourself pitching good. It's not a, Cade, I finally feel like Cade's at a point where it's a full starter right now. Like next week, he doesn't have limitations. Aaron Nixon, this week we felt like he didn't have any limitations, and he pitched great, So I think that's the part, but they really help us. And Parker Sinnett, I got to get going too. We have another veteran on there that we need to get out there and have some success.
You mentioned Dome and how valuable he's been for your club, and now you may have what you want on the back end, and much more so than just a few weeks ago with all the injuries. Saturday he got roughed up a little bit. I think he said something like he may have been overthrowing, a little too juiced up, but that's understandable with almost 17,000 people in the park.
Yeah, he thinks I'm crazy because I said, man, I was really proud of you. And he makes a bad pitch to Groff. He throws a fastball down the middle. But what he wasn't going to do is he wasn't going to walk you. In that environment, you don't want to walk the leadoff, and he was behind 1-0. The other two hits are ground balls to the infield. One hits the bag, one hits the other. But what Dome did for us in that environment, because when that happens, you are crushed on the mound in front of the biggest crowd in NCAA history. And he kept pitching, and he pitched us out of it. He strikes out Udermark on the 3-2 slider, and it keeps the game close for us so that we can make a comeback. If you put your head down and you don't, and that was a really big growing moment for him, I think. And Ole Miss, Dome's a lot of fastballs and everything else. Well, that's what Ole Miss hits, right? They're very good on the fastball. That's why we kept Nixon in yesterday, because Nixon just threw a ton of sliders. But that dynamic between those, that ninth inning for Dome, that was a real learning curve for him.
What was the clubhouse like when y'all lost the lead in the top of the ninth, then going into the bottom of the ninth on Saturday when it was such a pivotal game for your club?
Well, I don't know. Not happy, but like, hey, we felt like we had to fight through this ceiling. We've kind of ran into this lately a little bit, and we have to we have to get through this. And the hitters they came in and it was pass the baton, just give it to the next guy, And we had talked about it the night before, how we wish we could have got some guys on base. Hunter ends up hitting the homer in the ninth, right? Like in our ballpark more than any, if you can get something going in the ninth inning, it's hard to stop for us, And so we spent some time talking about that, and they did a great job with it on Saturday. But when they came off the field in the top of the ninth, it wasn't probably wasn't a good vibe.
Chris Lemonis on the Out of Bounds show. His team back-to-back series over Bama and Ole Miss, and now they head to Auburn this weekend. So your Tuesday game gets canceled because the SWAC needs to play some more games. So how much does that change your approach going into Auburn, Coach?
Not a lot. I'm just disappointed. We have some kids that need to play and the kids that need to pitch. That's the biggest thing you like on Tuesdays, But for us, we're just going to have another practice. We'll have a Tuesday. We'll let all those extra pitchers throw, live hitters. That'll be the only difference instead of throwing in a real game. But they had their whole weekend. I think their weekend got canceled, and they had to make up weekend. They're playing a doubleheader on Tuesday and couldn't come. So, it stinks, but it is what it is. And, maybe for our guys, it won't be as heavy of practices, but we'll have, an extra day of practice this week. And and get ready to go up to Auburn and play good baseball.
What's the latest on where you would like to fit Bradley Lofton into the mix?
We're still some midweek, some different pieces there. We got to get him. He's been a little tender lately, so we're trying to get him back on the mound. He's a big piece. He could really be a big piece late too if you get him out there. He's so talented, but we got to be able to get him out there consistently.
And then, are you comfortable now with where you are as far as your starting rotation on the weekend?
I don't know if anybody in our league's ever comfortable, but I like what we did this weekend. Yeah, I feel like if we can compete and when you get a guy on Friday night that goes in and shoves it in the strike zone, then it just makes it for everybody the rest of the weekend.
Yeah.
We had a freshman on Friday night. It's just not a great combination, And having Cade back in there, and Cade's been really good. I like that piece of it. It sets us up for more success.
Mm-hmm. Chris Lemonis on the Out of Bounds show. Marshawn, he's kind of like an energy guy. I don't know. I may be reading this wrong. Maybe a little Tanner Allen Mangum in him. He's got a little swagger. Tell me about his personality.
I think there's a little baseball crazy in there is what it is. So he's not scared of anything, and he does. He plays the game extremely hard. We had a real competition there in the preseason, and on the last scrimmage, he pulls his hamstring like a bad hamstring pull, and he was out the first month of the season. And he was playing really good at that point. He was a DH candidate for us. I mean, just a lot of different things, and then having to work back into it and get back out there. But I thought the play he made yesterday in the 7th was
unbelievable.
Maybe the play of the game. And he's a baseball rat. He loves the game and plays really hard. Really good base runner. You'll see that over time. And he, stealing bases, doing things. He's just not scared as a freshman.
Last one, Chris Lemonis on the Out of Bounds show. Talk about Ledbetter and what he meant to your lineup and your team over the weekend.
Well, I thought those 2 homers in Saturday game. The first day and probably the first couple innings of the Saturday game, I just, I felt like we were pressing a little bit, and he started swinging. It's like he opened the door for everybody else to relax and play. And I think after his first homer is kind of when we kind of took off as a ball club on the weekend offensively, and he does, man. He's a special player. Does a lot of things, really tough out in the lineup because you got to throw him strikes. And then if you throw him too good a one, he's going to hit it in the bleachers. So, but I thought he was really good on Saturday.
We'll leave it there. Chris Lemonis, head baseball coach at Mississippi State, back-to-back series wins over Bama and Ole Miss, and his club will head down to the Plains to take on the Auburn Tigers. Chris, thanks so much for your time today. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Bo. Take care.
Chris Lemonis on the Farm Bureau Insurance Guest Line. That interview was brought to you by Bulldog Burger in Ridgeland, Bulldog Burger in Starkville, and Bulldog Burger in Tupelo. Their new menu's out, and it's fabulous. Check it out today here in Starkville or Tupelo. And Chris Lemonis talking about how they controlled the strike zone. And they did a lot throughout the weekend, and especially yesterday with Jarangelo and Casey Hunt and Aaron Nixon. Aaron Nixon back, former Texas Longhorn, and healthy. He mentioned Marshawn, too, and getting over his hamstring injury. Thanks for listening to the show. If you missed any of it, you can go to Apple Podcast and search Out of Bounds with Bo Bounds, or YouTube and search Out of Bounds Sports.